When I first came to visit James, my son-in-law, I had no idea how drastically our lives would change. My name is Rebecca, and this story is mine, even though I had no idea how I was going to move on with my life after everything that had happened. It all started when my daughter Emily made the sudden decision to leave the family. She met someone in Chicago and never came back, only occasionally calling her father and me. Her father, William, took it stoically, but I couldn't accept that she had given up everything so easily. 6 months ago, however, circumstances forced me to stay with James temporarily while our house was being renovated. William was still working and overseeing the renovations, so I had no choice but to live at James' house during this period. James was a kind and hardworking man, but we were never particularly close. He was in his early 30s and I, though older, still felt full of life and purpose. To avoid being a burden, I threw myself into helping around the house, cooking, cleaning, organizing. It felt good to be useful, and it brought a sense of routine to what had become a very special place. Over time, I began to notice things about James that I hadn't noticed before: his gentle nature, his dedication to his work, and his calmness. He, too, seemed to feel more and more comfortable in my presence, and there was an easy rapport between us that made the days pass more and more pleasantly. On New Year's Eve, William joined us, and we toasted to the past and coming year. We drank quite a lot, mixing various drinks, and by midnight my memories of the evening began to blur. The laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the warmth of the moment seemed to merge into a hazy haze. When I woke up the next morning, I felt nauseous and disoriented, and stumbled to the bathroom. It was only then that I noticed I was wearing someone else's clothes. Wrapping a towel around me, I walked back into the room and was surprised to see James asleep with his back turned to me. Panic gripped me, and I woke him up and demanded to know what had happened. He looked as confused as I was. After a long pause, he admitted that he didn't remember much either, but assured me that nothing terrible had happened. Nevertheless, the situation was unsettling. We both decided to forget about it, pretending it was an unfortunate but harmless consequence of over-exuberant celebration. In the back of my mind, however, I couldn't shake the strange intimacy of that morning, and the fact that it made me question the boundaries we had unknowingly begun to blur. And yet, over time, we began to be drawn to each other. Perhaps it was a shared awkwardness, or the fact that we were now living under the same roof, but something unspoken shifted between us. Conversations became warmer, moments of shared laughter more frequent. One evening, as we sat at the kitchen table, the tension that had been building between us erupted into an impulsive, "I'll keep quiet here, I think you guessed it." In that moment, all the barriers of age, relationships, and societal expectations seemed to dissolve. The next day, neither of us talked about what happened, but it hung in the air between us for a long time, energizing our communication. Over the next month, our connection grew deeper and deeper. We tried not to show it, realizing the seriousness of what we were doing, but emotions tend to surface no matter how hard you try to suppress them. Every touch, every glance at each other, carried a weight that neither of us could ignore. By the time the renovations were complete, I didn't want to leave. The thought of going back to my old life seemed unbearable, and I knew James felt the same way.